The 19th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China has opened its 6th plenary session in Beijing this morning. Attendees include more than 370 full and alternate members of the party's highest governing body. This year marks the centenary of the founding of the CPC, and the session is expected to deliberate a resolution which will look back at the party's major achievements and its historical experience over the past 100 years. Well, let's bring you more now from our reporter, Zhao Yunfei, joining us live from Beijing. Tell us, Yunfei, what is the agenda for the 6th plenary session?
Well, indeed, today's 6th plenary session is the second to the last plenary session of CPC's 19th Central Committee. The Political Bureau presents its work report, which studies the issue of, quote, comprehensively reviewing the major achievements made and the historical experiences accumulated during the party's 100 years of endeavors. CPC's 19th Central Committee was elected in 2017 and will sit until next year's National Congress. Each committee has a 5-year term to hold 7 plenary sessions, and typically the 6th plenary sessions discuss party building. For example, the last 6th plenary session was in 2016. The session confirmed the General Secretary Xi Jinping as the core leader of the party, and it was considered a new chapter in the party's leadership in facing challenges ahead. So this ongoing session comes at a time when CPC marks its centenary, and in the next few days, the meeting will trace the party's current policies to its foundation in 1921. At the end of the gathering, it is expected that a resolution on the party's major achievements and experience will be released, which will put the party's development in a larger perspective and summarize the gains and losses in its century-long history. Lindy.
Well, thank you so much for that explanation. That was Zhao Yunfei for us in Beijing. Well, next up, Li Junhua explains what a plenary session is and does.
The 6th plenary session of the 19th CPC Central Committee will soon make the headlines in China and beyond. The meeting does have a long name, doesn't it? But don't worry, if you break it down, you have Central Committee and plenary session. To explain those terms, we have to start with the party's National Congress. Over 2,000 representatives make it into the Congress, which is held once every 5 years. It reviews work in the previous 5 years and the plans for the next 5. The last and 19th National Congress took place in 2017, and the next will happen in 2022. Now enter the Central Committee. It consists of over 200 members, which is reshuffled every 5 years during the National Congress. The committee meets at least once a year. These meetings are called plenums or plenary sessions. Normally, the plenary sessions are held 7 times every 5 years. The schedule has been institutionalized since over 40 years ago. But before that, the meetings were not held as regularly. For instance, the plenary sessions of the 6th Central Committee took place over a span of 17 years, starting in 1928, due to the First Civil War between the Communist Party and the Nationalists. Then, what functions do these meetings perform? They shape the country's developmental course in concrete ways. They can be life-changing in China. For instance, in December 1978, the 3rd plenary session of the 11th CPC Central Committee marked the start of China's reform and opening up. They set China on course for rapid economic growth. Each plenary session plays a different role. Usually, the first and the second are about the party's and the country's leadership, election, and recommendation. The third one is usually about the country's development, mainly focused on its economy. The fourth one introduces plans for major national policies. The fifth one is focused on China's 5-year plan of social and economic development, as well as personnel adjustment. The sixth one focuses on party building. And finally, the 7th makes preparations for the next National Congress. During the upcoming session, the focus is expected to be on the party's achievements and experience over the past century after the CPC marked its centenary in July. Now, I hope you have got a clear idea of what the plenary sessions are about.